Hi everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, it is almost Valentine's Day, and it is a perfect time for me to share with you a really amazing dessert that would be perfect for Valentine's Day. You know, God has really put it on my heart to make amazing, nutritious food for our family. And now that Kevin and I have chosen to eat a low carb lifestyle, that means that I get to look for and come up with low carb sweet treats. And today I am sharing with you the perfect little dessert for Valentine's Day. This recipe today is going to be strawberry cheesecake cups with little shortbread cookies. It is fantastic. It is filled with amazing ingredients for your family and features wonderful ingredients from Azure Standard. There are 3 layers to this wonderful dessert. We're going to start off with the strawberry layer because that needs the most time to set. Okay, let's get started on the strawberry layer. Now, the strawberry layer is going to be on the bottom of our cheesecake cup. And it's going to be kind of like a strawberry puree jello. And we're going to make that homemade. We're going to start off with the strawberries. Now, it is not fresh strawberry season here, but the frozen strawberries are fantastic. So I have about 1.5 cups of whole frozen strawberries here. We're going to blend these up, but they're a little bit too hard right now. So I'm just going to stick them in the microwave for like 30 seconds to start thawing them a little bit, and then they will puree up really nicely. Now that they are just thawed a tad, I'm going to add them to this small food processor that I have. I really love it for those times when I don't really want to get out my big food processor, but I still need something ground up a little bit. This is working perfectly. Now to the strawberries, I am going to add a squeeze of fresh lemon juice just to brighten up those flavors. The sweetener, I'm going to be adding our stevia drops. Now, this brand of stevia is my favorite. The brand is called Stevia. To me, it seems like it's the only stevia drops. It doesn't have like a weird aftertaste. It's not combined with any other type of sugar or sugar substitute. It's just stevia extract and a preservative, which is grapefruit seed extract. So not even the preservative is bad for you. I'm going to add about 15 drops of the stevia right to the strawberries in the little food processor. We're just going to put the top on and blend that up. Now that they're blended up just a little bit, I am going to add about 1/4 cup of water just to make this puree just a little bit more liquidy. That's 1/4 cup of water. That's done. I am going to transfer just a little bit, maybe 3 tablespoons or so of this strawberry puree with a little bit of water in it. I'm going to put some of it in a separate little bowl because we're going to mix some gelatin powder in with this and let it bloom, which means we're basically like activating it or maybe even rehydrating it, kind of like you would do to a yeast that you're going to use to bake bread. You add the yeast just to the top of your liquid mixture and you let it sit there for 5 minutes to just kind of activate. Same with gelatin. We're going to add just a little bit of the gelatin, mix it in, and just let it bloom for about 5 minutes. The gelatin that I'm using today is beef gelatin, and I buy that from Azure Standard. Beef gelatin is a really great source of protein, but it is also filled with amazing amino acids that are great for joint health. I like to use beef gelatin because if I buy like jello from the grocery store, it's filled with chemicals and colorants and things like that. Now I am putting 1.5 teaspoons of the gelatin powder in with the strawberry puree mixture, and I'm just going to mix that up and just let it sit here for about 5 minutes. The remainder of the strawberry puree, we are going to heat it up on the stovetop in a little saucepan. I'm gonna heat this at about like a medium low temperature, and we want this puree to heat up to almost a boil. Not quite a boil, but almost a boil. It's not gonna take long because there really isn't a whole lot of liquid in this tiny little sauce pot. Okay, our mixture here is hot. I'm gonna turn off the heat. It was just about to boil. Now I'm going to mix in the puree that we set aside and mixed in with our gelatin powder. So I'm going to mix that in really well so that the gelatin powder is completely combined with the hot strawberry puree mixture. Now that this strawberry mixture has the gelatin in it, we are going to fill the bottom of 4 of these pretty little cups. We're going to fill the bottom of them. That will be our first layer to the strawberry cheesecake Valentine's dessert. Our first layer is all set, but they need to go into the refrigerator so that the strawberry puree jello can set up nicely. We're going to have them in there for at least a couple of hours, and then we'll put on the next layer. In the meantime, let's keep working on the last 2 layers. The cheesecake layer is next, and it is a no-bake cheesecake filling. It comes together very quickly. It is so easy and only has a few ingredients. We are going to start off with 8 ounces of very soft cream cheese. We're going to add that to a nice big mixing bowl. Next, we're going to add just a splash of vanilla, probably a teaspoon or so. Next, I'm adding our sweetener. I am going to be using a confectioner's sugar substitute called Swerve. I do really like this. It is a sugar alcohol called erythritol, and using a confectioner's sugar substitute, it combines really well with all of your ingredients, and it doesn't feel kind of like gritty on your teeth when you eat it, especially because we're not going to be baking this. I'm going to be using just under 1/3 of a cup of the confectioner's sugar substitute. And then total, we will be adding 1/2 cup of heavy cream. Now this is cream from our cow that I skimmed off of our fresh farm milk, but you can use heavy whipping cream or just regular whipping cream from the grocery store. I'm gonna be adding this gradually because I have found that if I add it all at once and then I blend it up with my beater here, it like just splashes everywhere. So I'm gonna be adding a little bit at a time of 1/2 cup of cream. Now that it's pretty much all combined, I'm just gonna scrape down the sides here with a spatula. And now I'm gonna beat it until it is nice and fluffy. All right, well that is pretty darn good. In the middle, I stopped and I tasted it, and it needed just a little bit more sweetener, and it also wasn't as fluffy as I would like, so I added just a little bit more cream. I probably added a couple tablespoons more of both of them, and it whipped up like a dream. Now that this is done, I can put this in the refrigerator. I'll cover it with plastic wrap until that strawberry jello, the homemade puree jello, sets a little bit more. And then we'll spoon this cream cheese mixture or this cheesecake mixture on top of the strawberry filling. So now we get to work on the shortbread cookies. Shortbread cookies are probably one of my favorite kinds of cookies because how can you go wrong with, you know, butter, sugar, and flour? It's amazing, and that's what we're going to do today, but we are going to be taking a low-carb direction with these shortbread cookies, and we are going to be using coconut flour instead of standard flour, and we are going to be using a granulated sugar substitute In this recipe, I will be using monk fruit. Both of these ingredients that I'm going to be using today, the coconut flour and the monk fruit, are from Azure Standard as well. I talked about them a couple times already in this video. Azure Standard is a really great option for people who like to buy organic and non-organic items in bulk. They do also sell items not in bulk, but I love stocking up my pantry, and because of that, I like to use Azure Standard. Now, Azure Standard is kind of like a buying group, kind of like a co-op, where a bunch of people actually in your area place an order for the products that they want from Azure Standard. Those products are delivered once a month all together by semi-truck in a meeting location in your community. Everybody shows up at that delivery time and at that date, and they unload the semi-truck of everybody's orders. You grab your orders at the end and you go home. And it's a really great way to get really quality products at a great price without having to rely on the grocery store. We absolutely love Azure Standard. And if I can use products from Azure versus a grocery store, I absolutely will. If you're interested in learning more about Azure, you can look at the link to their website in the description of this video. Now let's get started on the shortbread. We are starting with the butter. Now the butter is softened at room temperature, and we are using 12 tablespoons, which is the equivalent of 1.5 sticks or 3/4 of a cup of butter. This is unsalted butter. We're going to cream the butter into the sugar or the sugar substitute, which in this case we are using granulated monk fruit. Now I'm not a huge fan of monk fruit, but that is the form of sweetener that I have that is granular in the house right now. And I think that in this recipe, a granular sort of sugar is necessary for the end product to turn out really well. So I am using a 1/4 cup of monk fruit. And you can actually use up to 1/3 of a cup in this recipe. So I'm just gonna sprinkle on that sweetener. And right now I'm actually also going to add just about a teaspoon of vanilla. Now using my beaters, I'm gonna cream this until it's nice and fluffy. Now for the coconut flour. It smells so good. We are gonna add 1 cup of coconut flour to this mixture, and we are gonna use the beater to mix it in to the butter and the sweetener mixture. Okay, that mixed up well. So I'm just going to bring all of this dough. It's kind of crumbly, but it will stick together. It'll stick to itself once we put it into like a ball shape here. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I am gonna put this dough in the refrigerator while the oven preheats to 350. It will stiffen it up a little bit, and it will allow us to kind of press it or roll it into a flat kind of cookie, a big flat kind of squarish cookie that then we can cut our shortbread cookies into the shape that we would like. I'm just gonna plop this onto the plastic. Cover that up. I'm going to kind of form it into a disc. Just like that. We're going to put this in the refrigerator while the oven preheats to 350. Okay, the oven is preheated to 350, and this was resting in the refrigerator for that time, firming up a little bit. So I'm going to attempt to roll this out just a little bit thinner. I'm not wanting it to be as thin as some of like your sugar cookies would be. And I am going to see if I can just roll it out here on the counter like you do just with regular cookie dough. You can also just like smash this down with your fingers to make it thinner. That's what I have done in the past, but I want to see if I can roll it a little bit better. Unlike normal flour, this coconut flour doesn't have any give to it, so you have to work with it a little bit more gently. Okay, transfer it onto here. We are going to cut these into little shortbread cookies. I'm going to do that with a pizza cutter. And because I want these to kind of be like shortbread cookie sticks almost, I'm going to make these kind of narrow like this. And then we'll come back and cut them this direction. And then I'm going to come through here with a fork, and I'm just going to poke fork holes in here. I'm just going to try to separate them a little bit so they cook a little bit more evenly than if they were all together. Okay, let's put these in the oven. Okay, we are going to put these in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes, maybe maximum 15. We're going to watch them until the edges start to get a little bit golden brown, and then we'll take them right out. Okay, at 13 minutes, these cookies, shortbread cookies, are done. They are perfectly browned along the edges. We just need to bring them over to the counter and let them cool, and then we can assemble our strawberry cheesecake with shortbread cookies. All three of the components of our strawberry cheesecake with shortbread cookies, they're all completed. It's now just a matter of assembling them and giving them a taste. The strawberry puree jello has set up very, very nicely. The no-bake cheesecake filling is wonderful and light and fluffy. Let's put some of this wonderful cheesecake filling down inside of there. I think 2 spoonfuls will be amazing. We made just the right amount of ingredients for all 4 of these. We're not going to eat all 4 of these right now. I'm just going to take one for myself to try with you guys. So I'm going to place just a couple of these shortbread cookies inside of there. Yum. Okay, let's give our Valentine dessert a try. I think the cookies might be a little bit too crumbly to just pick up and dip and eat, but they are going to be perfect to just break off a little bit inside the cup, go down and get some of that strawberry. It is so lovely, you guys. The crunch of the cookie is amazing. The cheesecake is just so light and fluffy, and having that strawberry on the bottom is amazing. You guys, I hope you give this Valentine Day treat a try. It can still be healthy, it can still be low carb, it can still be keto, and still taste amazing. You guys, I'm so glad that you joined me today in the kitchen. I had a lot of fun. If you're enjoying videos like this, make sure that you hit the subscribe button below. And remember, the best way to help us here on the Homestead is just to share our videos on your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.